G'day everyone, I'm Jake Phillips, Breed Development Officer at Angus Australia, and I'd like to welcome you back to the Stock Agents Toolkit. Today, we're going to have a look in more detail at the tools available for you to help your clients find the right size for their operation this breeding season. Today, we'll be covering estimated breeding values, or EBVs, what they are, how they are calculated, and how they can help you when looking at a potential sire for your client's operation. So what's the best way to get the real breeding value of an animal? Well, you just ask them. And here we are in the bullpen. There's no better place to ask those questions that we want answered, like, what is your true breeding value? Let's see if we can get some answers. Yeah, g'day mate. It's Jake Phillips from Angus Australia. Just wondering if you had time to answer a few quick questions for us. Thanks for your time. The first question we had was, could you tell us what your true breeding value is? Okay. Could you tell us, are you more desirable for calving ease? Anything? What about marbling? No? Scrotal circumference? Could you just tell us if your calves are going to be big or not? Anything? There's some more bulls over here. Let's try our luck. G'day fellas, Jake Phillips from Angus Australia here. I was just wondering if maybe you could shed some light and tell us what you think your genetic potential for calving ease is like. Don't want to talk about it? Lucky we've got breeding support tools like estimated breeding values. Let's take a further look. For decades, cattle breeders across the world have been using a genetic evaluation to predict what an animal's true breeding value is. When a stud registers a calf, the stud can then have information submitted on more than 25 traits across the animal's life and capture performance on things such as weights, carcass information, docility, structure, fertility and calving ease, and new research traits such as traits linked to longevity and even coat type. As we learnt last episode, we can't judge a book by its cover, and we can't judge the genetics of the bull about how it appears on sale day, as that in itself is largely influenced by its environment. Although the physical inspection of the bull is a critical step to ensure he himself aligns with your expectations, using tools to help understand the breeding value of the bull will ultimately provide more information to you and your clients about how the animal's progeny will perform. Since the mid-1980s, Angus breeders in Australia have been submitting measurements on traits for genetic evaluation to help to understand what the genetic influences are in the way that progeny perform, and to help understand what differences exist. Today, Angus breeders in Australia are submitting more than 500,000 records on animals across the country, including 56,000 birth weights, more than 40,000 measurements taken at weaning and again as a yearling, and more than 30,000 scans for carcass traits important to eating quality and yield, and more than 52,000 individual scores on calving difficulty analysed in the taste analysis each year. So what does this all mean? Well, what it means is that when you're considering using a registered Angus bull to satisfy your client's breeding objective, you're considering using a breed that is a heavy investment in one of the most comprehensive genetic evaluations anywhere in the world. Nowadays, this genetic evaluation is called the taste analysis, or Transtasmin Angus Cattle Evaluation. The evaluation takes into account the performance submitted on the animal and its relatives across the Angus population. It also takes into account the pedigree, who the sire and dam are, how old they were, and who else they're related to, as well as all of the genomic information. I'll come back to talk about genomics in more detail in the next episode of the Stock Agents Toolkit. The evaluation takes into account the effect of different management groups, as well as the effect of different seasons, the age ranges of the animals, whether they are male or female, single or twin born, the age of the cow, as well as the groups the animal has been managed with, including the date the measurement was taken. From here, the information is calculated using industry-leading software that can be found anywhere across the world. TACE EBVs are then expressed as the difference between an individual animal's genetics and a historical genetic level within the Transtasmin Angus cattle evaluation. These are then reported in the units in which the measurements are taken. These are reported in the units for that trait, for example, kilograms for weight, days for gestation length, and millimetres for fat measurements. Where the EBVs make the most sense is in comparing the breeding value to another animal's breeding value. So if you were comparing two bulls, for example, bull A with a 400 day weight of 120 and bull B with a 400 day weight of 100, the difference is 20 kilos. With all other things being equal, 50% of the genetics coming from the bull means the calves from bull A are genetically 10 kilograms heavier than the calves from bull B. The comparison of the animal's breeding value being compared to another animal's breeding value is a great step in deciding if the bull is going to suit your client's requirements. So, do EBVs work? You bet they do. Here's an example from the ASBP, where Angus Australia facilitates the Angus Sire Benchmarking Program. This program uses between 20 and 40 Angus sires each year mated to 2,000 cows, and we measure the performance on all of the progeny, from birth all the way through to processing for steers or post-calving for heifers. When we compared the 10 sires with the highest EBVs versus the 10 sires with the lowest EBVs for 200, 400 and 600 day weight, this is what we found. For 200 day weight, we expected the average difference to be 8.7 kilos, and it was actually 8.6 kilos. For 400 day weight, we expected 14.6 kilograms, and we actually found 14.2. And for 600 day weight, we expected 21.2 and actually found 19.9. For more information and lessons from the ASBP, please visit the Angus Australia website. But this is a great example of how EBVs can aid as a tool in describing the difference found in progeny. When using the Angus Database search or browsing through sale catalogues, a key feature is the listing of the animal's percentile, which is where the animal's particular EBV falls in relation to the rest of the Angus population, compared to Australia and New Zealand. These percentiles are expressed from the 99th percentile through to the 1st percentile, meaning, for example, if an animal was listed for the 10th percentile, it only has 10% of the population equal or higher for that trait. Often, this can be more desirable. The key message here is that it should be an important step for you to sit down with your client and define a breeding objective, which generally is listing 3 to 5 traits that are highly important to their program. You should also define your acceptability of these traits and breeding values, as it is unlikely selecting cattle in the top 1% of the breed for some traits will end up suiting your overall goal. By having a realistic goal and expectation, and by accepting the breed average on some traits, will only lead you to a greater pool of cattle and genetics available for you to critique further with your client. We'll come back to defining a breeding objective in a later module of the Stock Agents Toolkit. Currently, the TACE analysis for the Angus breed is conducted every fortnight throughout the year. And each time this happens, Angus Australia publishes the breed average. Many proactive Angus breeders also list this across their sale catalogue. This is a fantastic reference point to compare the EBVs of the bull you are looking at to evaluate if the bull is more desirable, less desirable, or close to average compared to the rest of the breed. The final decision support tool as part of today's overview of EBVs that we're going to cover is the use of selection indexes. The selection indexes assist in making balanced selection decisions, taking into account the relevant growth, carcass and fertility attributes of each animal. This is then to identify animals that are most suitable for use within a particular commercial enterprise. Selection indexes reflect both the short-term profit generated by an animal through the sale of their progeny and the longer-term profit generated by daughters in a self-replacing cow herd. All selection index values have been derived using the latest technology available called Breed Object, which has been developed by the Animal Genetics and Breeding Unit, AGBU, in Armidale in New South Wales. Selection index values are reported as an EBV, which is in units of net profit per cow joined for each given scenario. For Angus cattle in the TACE analysis, we report two standard indexes on all of these animals, and they are the Angus Breeding Index as well as the Angus Breeding Index with low feed cost. There are also a further 8 indexes available which breeders may choose to display. The key point is to find the index which most closely aligns with your client's production system. The index should then be used as a filter when searching for bulls in any catalogue by defining what your client's threshold is and then using that as a benchmark to refine the number of bulls that you're going to look at. By using this step, this allows you to move on with individual trait comparison and physical appraisal of the bull sooner. And this is done by having the index as a primary filter on the bulls on offer. The easiest way to do this is by searching the particular Angus catalogue on the Angus Database. Then, rank the bulls on order of the index which most closely align to your client's operation. Secondly, place the breeding objective EBVs as additional selection criteria and then export this list for consideration and physical inspection as well as a bull soundness exam. We'll cover this in more detail in the upcoming modules of the Stock Agents Toolkit. In summary, EBVs are a useful tool when comparing the breeding value of animals. They have been around for a long time and are a well-adopted piece of technology. They also have a power of data included in each evaluation. EBVs reliably predict the expected difference between progeny, and this should be considered when defining what bulls warrant your consideration based on their EBV values. EBV percentiles and averages are a great tool to assess if the bull you're looking at is within your expectations compared to the average of the breed. And selection indexes are a quick-fire tool to utilise to refine your options by using this weighted emphasis tool. Next time on the Stock Agents Toolkit, we're going to be going in more than skin deep. That's right, it's all about DNA, the power of genomics, verifying the parentage and understanding genetic conditions reported in the Angus breed. But until then, stay safe and we'll see you next time as we continue to unpack the Stock Agents Toolkit.